What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back. Today, we're here to talk about Lonesome Dove. Let's get into it.
Favorite reader, that's who you are. Traveling near, traveling far. Through every chapter, you're the star. Favorite reader, that's who you are.
Let's just get into it. Okay. For the past few days, I've been thinking, like, how do I want to organize this video? I really been going back and forth in my head, and I had a lot of ideas, and I didn't like any of them. I ain't like a single one. So I'm just going off the cuff. I really, in my head, I wanted this to be like well organized, to have like this section, this section, this section. And none of it it didn't feel how I wanted to feel. It didn't come across how I wanted to come across. It was too, I don't know, it was just something missing. So I dropped all of those ideas, and here I am just saying what I think about the book. So first of all, what is the book? Like I've said 10 times, and you saw in the title, it is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I feel like almost everybody knows what this book is, has heard of the author, has heard of the miniseries, has heard of this book, something. So it won't really be much of an introduction, but what I can say is it's a Western, okay? On the back it says, if you read only one Western novel in your life, read Lonesome Dove. It's kind of thick. Let me see how many pages this is. Hold up. 858 pages, and that's in the edition that I have. But even though I'm not going to go off of exactly how I had this pre-organized, and it's a fly in here, y'all, I am going to check my notes here and then make sure I'm not missing nothing. So anyways, what is this book about? Many people consider this book to be in the conversation when you talk about the great American novel. Many people refer to this as the great American novel. Some people put it in their top 5, some top 10. But it's always in conversation in some way to be at the top of some kind of list, okay? This book on the surface is about a cattle drive from Texas up to Montana. On the surface, it was really about loneliness, about aging, about friendship and relationships, about desire, about nature and civilization, about conquering something. It's about a lot. It's about a lot. But on the surface, it's about a cattle drive from Texas to Montana. These former Texas Rangers, they said, look, we're gonna take these cattle, we're gonna take them all the way up to Montana. And it was a drive, okay? A drive, by a drive I mean on horseback. And very, very interesting. Very interesting. Now, in this crew, led by former Texas Rangers, the entire I guess company is called the Hat Creek Crew. And it's full of very interesting, very, very, very developed characters who each play their own part. They each had a role. This is a character-driven novel. There's no mistaking that. It's a character-driven novel, and its characters are the show. Like, they steal the show, okay? I have heard conversations because I've had, not this book. I used to have an older copy, but I got rid of it. But I've had this book on my radar for a while. And every time I see somebody talking about it or I hear somebody talking about it, there's been a few times where who the central character of this book really is. And I've seen that depending on who you think the central character of the book is, you kind of get a different perspective on the book itself. So some people consider Augustus, aka Gus, the main character. He's one of the former Texas Rangers. It's kind of Asian. Some people consider the captain Gus's best friend. one of the main characters or the main character. Some people consider one of the women the main character. Some people consider Newt, the young guy, main character. So you get, it's interesting because when I read it, I didn't like think of one person as like the main character. I thought about like a group. Not even a group. I honestly thought about Gus and the captain being the two main characters. And I kind of saw it as like, I saw their stories like come together and go apart, come together and go apart. I kind of got to play them against each other, but also see where they're very similar and where they're very different and how the author kind of played on that. So that's the way that I read it. One thing I want to mention about this book is brutal in a lot of ways. Like it has a lot of violence. It has like graphic depictions of things, but it also has like the conversation and dialogue is funny at times. So it's kind of crazy how you in this story where it's getting really gruesome at times, and then somebody say something and you just like, wow, that's insane, and you kind of laugh at it. So it has parts that'll make you sad, angry, upset, frustrated, but also parts that'll make you laugh and kind of sympathize or empathize with the characters. Annoyed at sometimes. You just want to jump into the book and shake them and be like, what are you doing? What's going on? Why are you doing this? Yeah, it's a lot going on in this book. The characters. So let's get into some of the core themes of this book, like I mentioned earlier. One of them is loneliness versus connection. Every major character in this book is isolated in some way. Every major character is like searching for something. They have like a hole shape in their heart, or like something that they're desiring that they can't quite get. They right outside of that grasp. Something that's like keeping up a wall between them and other characters in a book, or them and themselves. Something that's stopping them from seeing a truth about the situation around them. They're surrounded by people, but in a way, they're alone in what they're dealing with and where they are in life. For example, earlier I mentioned there's like this contrast between Augustus and Captain Call. They're dealing with two different things, and it's both related to aging and regret and understanding and reckoning. Captain Call is dealing with trying to reconcile what his future is going to look like. Like I said, these guys are former Texas Rangers. They feel like, to be real, their glory days are behind them. Like they've peaked, or what they think is peaked. And he's trying to see, like, basically, who am I without that? Okay, I'm a workaholic. A lot of my value comes from that. A lot of my value comes from walking a straight and narrow. Who am I if I made this mistake? Who am I if I'm no longer at the height of my rangering days and I'm not the toughest, baddest, most endurable cowboy? Like, who am I? And then you got Augustus, who's like, you know what? I put in my time. I'm chilling. I'm chilling. On the outside, that's how he presents. Like, yeah, he's cool with kind of slowly settling down into this retirement phase. But at the same time, he's dealing with his emotional stuff in another way. Captain Call and Augustus both are dealing with this emotional void. It's just in two different ways. And I really like the way the author kind of played that against each other, how they both were seeking for something. And a woman on the surface was at the center of both, but really this was like an internal battle on both. So I also like the fact that the author used people to be like a stand-in for an internal conflict. So that was pretty cool to see. Very, very well written. Another theme in this book is masculinity and emotional restraint. For example, Captain Call's inability to express his emotions. That was a big piece of this book, and it showed up in other characters' arcs. And then the masculinity part, how women are portrayed in this book. I always like find it interesting when I sit back and analyze how women are portrayed in the book. And let me make a distinction. Because an author is depicting something in his book does not necessarily mean that they're promoting it. Sometimes I feel like those overlap for sure. But in this book, the way women are portrayed, I think is very telling of the time of this book. Not when it was written, but the time and where the book was set. And the role that they played in people's lives around them. Like there are a couple main characters in this book that are women. Clara for one, Lorena another, Elmira another. And you wanna be annoyed with how like you feel for them because they're being dismissed, they're being looked at in one kind of way or another. Seen as like they're seen in the eyes of like, what can you do for me and us, and not in their individuality. But the cool thing is on the back end, you get to see like the author writes in portions of their identity just like he does the rest of the characters in the book. So yes, they're seen as like whores, or they're seen as like a villain in a lot of ways, or like Claire, for example, is seen as like more brute and more cold in a lot of ways. And you see Lorena and how she's treated at times, and but you get to see what they're seeking, what their like identity is, how they became the people that they became, and it's very fleshed out. I mean, you really get to know these characters, all of them, the women, the men. You get to know the horses, okay? Captain Call's horse. You get to know them too. So very interesting. Yeah. You also this book, because they're going from this is written during the time of the cowboys, like in the 1870s. So imagine these Texas Rangers coming from Texas. They're pushing back Mexicans. And then at the same time, when they're trying to go settle the West, they're invading on and trying to wipe out Native Americans as well in that area. So they're trying to be the first people to settle these cattle in Montana. They are not going to be the first people, but in their head, that's what they're thinking. And so you also get to see the relation between them, the Native Americans, and the Mexicans somewhat. Interesting. And speaking of that, I told you this book was set in the 1800s, the late 1800s. There is a main character who's black, this black man named Deets. And same thing that I mentioned about the women, you get to see in this area how he's received, how he's treated, how he's like referenced and referred to. But you also get a really good character analysis of him too, written in the book. Deets is black, so he gets treated like a black man would. He is the most, I mean, he is very skilled, very dependable, very reliable, the best scout, the best tracker. Like he's your man who's like, yeah, you want him on your side, you want him on your team, and you get to see the bond that's built between him and the other members of the Hat Creek crew. And it's cool to see, especially like, I don't know, their union transcends like whatever the norms are of that time. And I appreciated that. I felt like we got to see who they were, what they valued, what they liked, what everybody brought to the table. It was just cool to see. Another theme in this book is, I just told you they're basically trying to settle the West. But something that keeps coming up in the book is the West in general, how it shapes identity, like the myth of the glory in it and like the realness of how harsh it actually is. That difference between being civilized and civilization, period, and not like the time before that. So very interesting. I honestly feel like I was in this book. I mean, not 1870, but like I really felt like you could really see the scene. You could see it, and it was so cool. Cool to read. Okay, so I already mentioned the characters. I mentioned Gus. His like main attributes or main themes that I think tied into the book were he's charismatic. He's charismatic, but he also brings in the like philosophical elements where he's thinking about life and the meaning of it all and making other people think about it. So that was his, I think, contribution. You have Captain Call, who he brings in like that duality of duty versus emotion versus like realistic expectations. So I think that's where he fits in. And then you have people like Lorena and Newt who bring in like this longing and sense for identity and belonging, like something that they've always been after and never quite felt like they could get, and they like that strong desire for it, and they actually, you know, search for it and long for it. So I think that's where they come in. But again, you have a whole cast of characters, and they all bring something to the story. They all have something to offer, and it's cool. Some come, some go, a lot stay. You got Elmira, who is it was he did a good job with the characters. I ain't gonna lie. Okay, so like I mentioned, it's a long book and it's full of scenes. It's full of scenes, and some are very emotional. Some are very traumatic. Some are funny. Some just set the stage and the scene so you can kind of see how the characters relate to each other. Some some characters don't make it, and you got to see how that plays out. But yeah, this book originally, when it was written, it was a standalone. But now it's a part of a group of 4 books. Let me see, because I was trying to see if I wanted to read them. So this was a standalone, but then he actually went back and he wrote Streets of Laredo and then Dead Man's Walk and then Comanche Moon. And the way that it's set is this will be the third of the 4 in chronological order. So I'll put it up on the screen so you can see the order that he wrote them in and then the chronological order that the series follows. I don't know if I'm going to read the other books. I kind of like, a part of me doesn't want to read the other ones. I ain't even gonna lie. At first, I was like, you know, maybe I do. Before I started reading it, I was like, maybe I do want to go back and read the other books. But then when I finished the book and I got to the end, it felt, though parts of it felt kind of open ended, it felt like a complete story to me. And so I'm not like longing or like I need to read the rest to see what happens. To me, it seems like a complete story. You kind of started the book, dropped in the middle of a scene, and you ended the book, dropped in the middle of a scene. But overall, I just feel like I got the closure that I needed. There are some things that's kind of left open, but I'm okay with that. And I just feel like it just feels complete to me. So I'm good on that. There is a mini series based on the Lonesome Dove. I haven't seen it. I actually think it's free on Tubi right now, though. So maybe I will watch it. I'm unsure if I'll actually watch it, but I do know that they have it. I might. We'll see. But yeah, this book is about the Wild Wild West. That's what it's about on the surface level, and then you get to dive into other things. Let me point this out because I feel like it needs to be said. My favorite character in the book, I have 2. Augustus and Clara. Those are my 2 favorite characters in the book. But when I say favorite characters, I don't mean like they just did everything right and it was admirable, because they didn't. Nobody in this book did everything right. Every single person in this book, every main character in this book was flawed. You didn't get that typical like hero of the book where they were just so like admirable in every single way. Every character had admirable traits. They were flawed and they had things where you was just like, dude, but that was the beauty of it because it was real. Like, you name a person that's walking on this earth right now that was born of two parents. Name this person that just has no flaws, you know? So it's cool to see, even with their flaws, you were like rooting for them to overcome some of their things. You was rooting for them to break free from some of the things. You was rooting for them to be like, it's okay, like make different decisions, make another choice. Like, you was rooting for them. And when they failed at something, you felt disappointed. And when they like did something well, you were like excited for them. And when something happened to them, you like felt for that. So it was good to see. Very well done. Very well done. So yeah, just to kind of sum this up, I don't know how long this video actually is, but everybody in this book, they're on a journey together, but they're on an individual journey too. So yes, the members of the Hat Creek crew are journeying together, but they're all after something different. They all have their different motivations and what got them there. They're all doing it for different reasons. And I want to talk about the relationship between who I believe are the two main characters of the book. So Captain Call and Augustus. They're like best friends for decades. And they're dealing with similar life events in two different ways. And it was just interesting to see how, yeah, they're dealing with outside life, but how their relationship with each other is. And just like when it's certain things that you share with people. They've been through a lot together. Like, they were Texas Rangers together. They was living with each other day in and day out. They almost died multiple times together. They like have saved each other multiple times. It's just like certain bonds that I feel like it's almost impossible to replicate once you go through certain things, like life-changing events with a person. Y'all have this bond that I feel like nobody really understands, and maybe you don't even understand. And that being portrayed in this book was cool because, like, I feel like that's beautiful too. Like, just to see that it has flaws. Like I said, flaws exist in this book, but that was just cool to see. And I'm about to run the risk of sounding real pessimistic and dark. But this book made me think about how everything has a cycle, a life cycle, how everything must come to an end, how there's a season for everything. And it can't be forever, you know, like relationships. When you, even like, cause it was a group of Texas Rangers. When you slowly start seeing, like initially, and you look around and you like, dang, we've lost all these people. And now it's just us out of the original pack left. It's just like, it's gonna be one person standing that will witness everybody else go at some point. Like, even in your life, again, I'm not trying to sound like depressing, but I really do think about that. You spend decades with even like a group of people, and then one by one, they're just gone, and you left just with like, I guess I'm next. At some point, I'll be up out of here. And you look around and everything's different. Like, even the new generation, or in his situation, a new crew, it's just like, yeah, y'all cool and all, but you know, maybe it's my time. Not to go like in that way, but I'm just saying, you just think like everything has a season and a life cycle. And it's real. It's sad, but it's real. But at the same time, as hurtful and sad as that is, you think about, well, I thought about just the joy in long lasting relationships, just the joy in being understood on a level where you don't have to say what it is, because they know you. They already know what you holding back. They already know what you like have been through. They've seen the mistakes you made and how you're responding to it. So you don't have to verbalize this to them because they've been there to witness it. And so they can help you in a way where other people might not can help you, because you would then be in charge of like telling somebody all this backstory and trying to get them this information. Where this person been there and they seen it and they know it and they see how you respond and they recognize your patterns. They try to help you correct your like mistakes and give you feedback, but at the same time they there for you even when you don't listen, you know? So yes, the relationships is gonna come, like eventually it's gonna come to an end, and it's sad, but you had decades and time and memories with these people, and that matters too. Yeah, you don't want it to come to an end, but that matters too. I'm done being depressing right now, but that's what I think about this. This is a good book. It was a great book, actually. Really enjoyed it. This book took me on a ride. I I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say. Let me check my notes. I don't think I do. Um, don't ramble too much. I don't know if I actually did or didn't do that, but I think that's it. That's pretty much my thoughts. This was a good book, layered again on the surface. It's about cowboys and a cattle run. I mean, a cattle drive from Texas to Montana, but it's about relationships and struggle and loss and loneliness and love and searching and civilization and America. It's a good book. Good book. Good book. That's it, y'all. Let me let y'all see. You can see the little cattle drive. I hope you can see it. But anyways, let me know if you've read this, if you want to read it, what your thoughts are. When I said on Instagram that I was reading this, actually, I don't think I announced when I started it, but I did like make a post or a story when I was almost finished with it. And so many people was like, wow, like they either said this is the best book I've ever read, it's my favorite book, it's this, it's that, or I want to read it. But there were a couple that said, I just think it's overrated. I think it's overrated. Can't wait to hear what you think. And it's hard, like it's hard for me to say a book is overrated. Now it's easy for me to say if something is underrated, but overrated is hard because it's like, I can see why people would like a certain book. Even this, like people telling me this their favorite book, I can certainly see it. 100% I can see that. So I ain't gonna say it's overrated. I probably won't say anything is overrated, but it's not underrated because I feel like it's got all the credit. It's got all the bits of credit that it need to have. It won a Pulitzer. It's got a lot going on, and this is considered one of the westerns that you should read. So yeah, that's it. Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know. And I'm gonna see y'all on the next one.
Pages turning soft as silk, stories flowing like warm milk. A journey starts with every line, worlds unfold.